Hey everyone, welcome back to another Steam Universe Secrets and Analysis video. This time we have Three Gems and a Baby, which is the last episode of the year, but it did give us a couple things to talk about, and of course, as always, I'm here with Michael.
Hello, hello.
So this was a flashback episode, and it flashbacked, unlike other episodes, it flashbacked to when Steven was just a baby. He was only a few months old, and it was his first winter. And of course, we see the gems dealing with, the aftermath of Rose being gone, as well as we get to see Greg being a new father.
Yeah, it was really interesting seeing that dynamic like so close to after it happened and how like much it affected them. We can kind of get back to that later because I found some of their actions very interesting. But the first big thing I noticed was the shape of Steven's pajamas. So we learned that the gems actually need to breathe, which is new. I don't think we ever really
Or
knew
for
that.
him, I guess
Yeah,
maybe just him.
yeah, I don't think that was established. I don't know if that's the case for all gems or not, which would make it confusing for how bubbling gems works. If that's the case, maybe there's just enough because they shouldn't have to breathe in general because they don't need oxygen.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that might be just a Steven thing. But what's interesting is we found out that the gems needed to breathe, and Greg basically ripped the pajamas where the gem was, and there was a pink diamond or a diamond shaped in pink pajamas over his gem. So I found that really interesting.
hmm I don't know if that's gonna be anything, but I don't know. That's just funny that it had to happen to make that shape, I guess. But another thing, actually, like a little bit before that, was that we get just a little tidbit, but we got to see sour cream as a kid, which
Yeah.
I love seeing like the teenagers, or I don't know how honestly how the age difference, because if Steven's 14, he might be older than a teenager at that point because he looks somewhat old.
No, he should be younger than a teenager because if Steven's 14 now and they're still like sour cream's still like a teenager, like a late teenager. And also in the picture there's a tooth missing, so I'm assuming he's like 7-ish, something
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
if Steven's 14
Yeah.
and they're 7 years older. That would make him
Like,
pretty old.
yeah, I guess. I don't know, it could be
So,
5.
yeah, it could be 5
6,
years and
4,
19.
something like that.
Yeah, but as always, I like seeing the cool kids as kids, I guess,
Yeah.
younger kids. So I guess we just kind of see a montage of Greg being a dad, for his, obviously his first time, and he's doing a pretty good job, I'd say, in
Yeah.
his first winter. So obviously it's cold, and he's staying at Vidalia's house because she is away for a while to visit a cousin, I believe, and then the gems come and bring some gifts, and of course their gifts they don't really understand what Steven is
Yeah.
at this point, so they don't understand how pretty much what a baby is, and they don't understand that he doesn't use any of this, he's not going to use any of the stuff that they give him for a long time.
Well, Garnet technically nailed it with her future vision.
That's true.
But it's weird that she didn't just foresee to that near future and see that the gifts were not a good idea. But I found it very interesting that even Garnet kind of acted sort of irrationally because they were just so confused as to what Steven was. As I'm sure you're going to mention in a second, how they just took the van and took Steven, including Garnet. Garnet was like totally 100% on board with that idea, which is very surprising because that's not quite in her character, but it made sense in the context of she still did not quite understand Steven, even though she had more of a grasp than everyone else.
Yeah, I think I'll bring up more about that when they get into the van, because that's when she like mentions she talks a lot about things, but like looking at Pearl's expression at first or just seeing how she acts, like you can totally tell she's not entirely happy at this point. That comes later in the episodes when she finally realizes that this is somebody new, I should protect him, I guess, because when they in the beginning of the episode she is not happy with the current
Of
situation.
course. Yeah, it's only been a few months since the love of her life died, and
I know.
love was unrequited.
So the next big thing that happens is that Steven's gem glows, and everyone's like, what the heck is this, Rose trying to communicate with us or something? But in fact it was probably just Steven being happy, like in Gem Glow where his gem lit up when he ate a cookie cat.
Yep. I wonder if they've seen that since, because they
Guess
seem
not.
they seem pretty surprised in Gem Glow when it happened.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, like feel like that stopped happening for a while at some point.
Yeah. And so because they mistake him as Rose, they kind of kidnap him, or they definitely kidnap him. And so they can see if they can maybe communicate with Rose or possibly get her back, which, is not the best idea.
Yeah, and even Garnet's trying to, because she thinks Steven's like a literal fusion, where like a part of Greg went into Steven, like he was a Horcrux or something, and all of Rose is just there, and so he thinks he can just split at any time, but clearly that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's like, oh, to show you, or like, she's like, oh yeah, I'm a fusion too, or something along those lines. And so we see that Garnet unfuses, and we get to see Ruby and Sapphire, which means that Steven did in fact see both of them before, the events of, Jailbreak.
That's trippy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is that they're both wearing different outfits than what we see now. So we don't know if that means that they got poofed by the time we saw them, or if Garnet just happened to get poofed. Like they had that outfit the whole time, because we never actually saw Ruby and Sapphire before the return. So it's possible that's the canonical outfits they had inside of Garnet all throughout season 1 until they got poofed in return, and then they changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So then we see that Greg makes a dog sled in an attempt to catch up with them, which is pretty hilarious. I don't know. It obviously didn't work. And then things kind of get like pretty serious when Pearl is about to pull Steven's gem out or something like that. And then she kind of stops because she remembers just how much Rose wanted this, or she doesn't really understand, but she stops because Steven laughs, and I guess that kind of like just makes her realize some things.
This episode, man. Like every gem had like a moment. Like obviously Pearl had the most heavy moment, because she just kind of broke down and started crying. But like the moment like in the beginning where Amethyst was like, it's not Rose, I get it. Like she was just very sad. And then even Garnet after she split, and then Steven started crying because they split. And she was like, where's Garnet? Even Garnet had a moment of frustration, like I just don't understand. She knows us. Like it was just very, very emotional.
So in the end, Pearl has to kind of learn to accept that Steven is here now and Rose isn't, and that Steven is going to grow and change just like Rose wanted.
Yeah, and another little Easter egg, kind of going off away from that for a second, more lighthearted Easter egg. It looked like the kids that were by the dog in the sled were Ronaldo and maybe like Kiki, I think, because it kind of looked like a young Ronaldo. I couldn't tell who the girl was. Be
it. I was thinking either that or Buck does wear red, so I don't...
Yeah, I thought Buck too, but his face looks more reminiscent of Ronaldo.
What about Buck's glasses? Like he was wearing some glasses.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was Buck at first, but then I looked closer, it looked kind of like Ronaldo, so I'm not even sure. It's up for debate.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Awesome. So that pretty much covers it for what we saw in this episode. One little thing that I wanted to kind of give a theory out for, possibility in the future that we might see if we ever do, is that so we see in this episode that Greg has the sunburn that he's had, ever since the show started. But if you notice in line 3 straight to video, a few months, who knows, maybe a month or so before Steven was born in the VHS tape, he didn't have that sunburn. And so in this episode he does, which is only a few months after, so we're talking only a few months difference. Yeah. So either Greg got this, very bad sunburn.
Permanent sunburn.
Yeah, a very bad sunburn within a couple months. He was August, so Steven was born in August, September, October, I don't know, not that many months of sun. Yeah, because this place definitely gets winter. Or that the flash from, say there was a flash from Rose becoming Steven, turning into Steven, made him get sunburnt, like a huge flash, and that's what caused this, which is a really interesting theory because it's something that you probably would never think about, like, he just had a sunburn. But what if it actually was from Rose? This is like, I don't know what to like compare it to, but it's really interesting.
Yeah, like it seems to be a pretty common theory, but I don't know how much it holds up, only because I don't think we're gonna see that moment ever. No. And I feel like it's not even gonna get really mentioned because so far all the flashback episodes have been going chronologically. So I feel like to go back to that would be kind of weird unless there's a huge like plot point that happens in that moment or that around that time. Unless we see the entire like arc of Rose planning for Steven or something like that, and we kind of learn all the secrets, maybe even with Lion and all that stuff, in like one episode or a couple episodes or something like that. That's the only way I see that actually coming into play, but other than that, I feel like we're not going to actually see that moment.
Very good point. So I think that pretty much covers it. This was a very good episode. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm sure you did as well, Michael.
Yeah, and I'm going to disagree with your saying that the pink diamond doesn't mean anything. I think that means something. Okay. I don't know what, but I
just
feel
felt like yeah, I noticed that too, but I was like, I don't know.
But my thing is, I don't think that's there for no reason, because it's knowing the writers on this show, I don't think they would just do that just because. Like, I feel like that there's some type of connection between Steven and Pink Diamond that we don't actually know, other than Rose being Pink Diamond's gem. I feel like there's some type of connection.
Well, that theory was that would have added a while back. That would have added some more evidence.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. I have a feeling that theory is going to come back anyway. People are going to be like, see, I told you. But no, I think that means something. I just don't know what it means.
Yeah, thinking about it more, I do see where like that might have a possibility to be something. Yeah. That'd be really interesting if that was in fact the case.
Yeah, but other than that, really good episode. We got more out of it than I was expecting, and it was really, really feely. It was a good time.
Definitely. So we'll obviously do more Secrets and Analysis videos when new episodes come out next year. So not a while from now, obviously. But until next time, we'll talk to you then.
Peace.